Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to Little Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Blevins. Joining me, as always, is Boop. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Oh, it's been a good week of TFT. I loved the intro today.
I could have gone at least another 5 to 10 seconds on that. So I'm just saying, I got the pipes for it. So
you sure got pipes,
maybe I'll extend it every episode. We'll see how it goes.
Eventually it'll just be half of the pod. It'll be its own little podcast.
Yeah, it'll just be its own podcast. Just me going, hey. But yeah, it's been a good and interesting and eye-opening and everything week for me. In TFT, just playing, getting some games in on 10.6 before the end of the patch, and really absorbing the comps and whatnot before we get this big patch that we're going to be talking about later on in the episode. But before we get to that, of course, we are a prediction esports podcast. Make sure you are subscribed there on Spotify and iTunes. PREEDICTION on Spotify and iTunes. Hit that subscribe button. Really does help us out. Of course, game nights every Friday over at discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Or if you want to watch live, twitch.tv/GiantSlayerTV. Make sure you're getting on that. We've been having some spectacular game nights. I think last week was the first week where from start to finish we had at least 8 people the entire time. Like, people come and go, and usually there's 10, 15 different people that come and go. Usually, people come in, play a game or two, leave. We had 8 solid the whole time. I don't think we played with any randoms at all. Randoms are welcome. Come bring them in, but no random queue fillers. We had folks the whole time, which was really cool and is great. And I think we're getting real close to where we're gonna each have to run our own lobby.
Yeah, and that's gonna be really funny because I don't ever play when I hang out.
Or
that'll be
ring mastering.
Maybe my lobby will be like the casters lobby where we practice casting and stuff, and your lobby will be the no scouting lobby.
If we ever get spectate mode, we don't need to play at all anymore. We can just cast the lobbies every week, which would be cool.
Yeah, we would love to do that. And train up some future casters. That's a cool thing. And we were thinking about the fact that, there are some other games out there. While TFT is the love of our lives, I have recommended some Jackbox games. So we don't have a hard cap at 8, so 15 people could come play.
Yeah,
and
we
then
could do that.
Start with some TFT, and then when everyone's kind of slowing down after a couple wacky games, maybe we play an actual wacky game like Quiplash or something. Could be super fun.
Yeah, or we could do there's a lot of things that we could do with expanding the roster. So if you guys have any ideas about that, let us know. I would think since you usually do D&D on Fridays anyway, we could do a Saturday once a month type of thing where it's just community day or something like that. Well,
yeah, exactly. We can have a little county fair.
We can have the Little Legends Podcast County Fair. Come all to the county fair. We'll be playing all things good and true. I don't know why I said that like a Renaissance fair, but that's what it is. It's the Little Legends Podcast Renaissance fair.
Oh my God, there should totally be Renaissance, a Three Musketeers Little Legend.
The Pengu kind of is like that.
Can you imagine a Little Legend with the mustache? Yeah. Right? That'd be so great.
Yes, we could do EU game. We could do EU time. That is something that has been requested a lot, and I would love to do. It's a time that's during the day for us, but not 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. for EU time.
And it's so funny because because of just our regions, we kind of forget that there are other regions who love this game too, right? And it's an all-encompassing thing.
I know that they exist. It's just hard for me to do that because I have a 9-to-5 job, so I can't always do stuff during the day, our time on the week, and then weekends. Forget about it. But definitely want to try. I think a once a month thing would be really cool.
Yeah. And it could be TFT, it can be whatever. We could even do polls in the Discord and have the lobby decide what we're
We could
playing.
do it like it could be, man. I know that this is riveting podcast content, like live brainstorming ideas that haven't happened yet. But like, yeah, I think that's cool. So let us know, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Let us know what you want to see. And I think like a once a month type of thing that could be just a celebration of community, whether it's a tournament or just game nights or game day, game fair. I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about there. So, Boop, let's shift back into specifically TFT. I know in the pre-show you were talking about a really sweet build that you just crunched with.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I don't know if it was just because of how the game turned out. I got really lucky on my NPC rounds. I got a legendary gold box, and I had like a bunch. I was already over 50 gold, so I got like 20 gold or something. Anyway, but this is what I did, and this was really interesting to me. So I started off with a Jarvan, and I ended up able to 2-star my Jarvan on the second round, which is super cool. And then I ended up picking up another Jarvan, and my second level 2 Jarvan already had a large rod on it. And I had a large rod on my bench, and for the first time ever, I actually, as someone who is on a podcast, I actually read the words of what Jarvan's ult did. It was just this mysterious white circle that appeared around him.
He
every
does
now
a
and
thing,
then.
and then stuff
Well,
happens.
and then I was like, oh, it gives him a shield. I'm like, oh no, that's the anyway.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you would assume that it would be something like a shield because he is like a tank unit.
Yeah, an AP Jarvan. Anyway, so I ended up putting death caps on him and getting upwards of like 160% attack speed, and so I built Ashe and Jhin, and then I got 2 drops from NPC rounds for Darkstar. And so, like, yeah. So basically, Ashe was Darkstar with Bloodthirster and Rageblade, plus the 160% attack speed from my Jarvan.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was because Jarvan was rank 3 and was able to carry me into the late game. I don't know, but the whole attack speed buff on Ashe with Rageblade plus Bloodthirster was nutty. Like, these rounds were not close. Like, from... I think I ended up on like a 21 game win streak at one point. Then I lost one round. Yeah, then I lost one round, and then I won the game after losing that one round. I switched my Jhin and my Ashe, and so
just the old swapperoo.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was actually pretty. I definitely want to experiment with it a little bit more because I think something that we've never done in TFT is kind of build for utility items. Not in terms of like utility items, like things that slow down, but like things like increasing a shield to like some obscene amount, right? Like I want to see what a triple Rabadon's current. I mean, of course you want those stats somewhere else, but there might be like this crest where
triple Rabadon's Malphite or something, where it's just
or like putting the Rabadons on Jarvan, getting the attack speed, right? Like investing in that kind of stuff as opposed to raw damage and stats. I don't think we've really dived super deep into that in this set. And so that was really, really, really cool to kind of see. And I racked all the Rebel comps, which just felt so good.
Yeah.
But man, the Ashe was pumping out some damage. And it wasn't just that. It was like everyone involved. All the synergies were good. I got some brawlers in there. Like it was pretty nutty item-wise. But the number one thing was just like the whole Jarvan increasing attack speed, that you're not necessarily even putting those items for Jarvan. That Rabadon's is technically for Ashe, right? For that boost of 100% attack speed.
Well,
right. And kind of just thinking that way is really, really intriguing to me, because then I was like, oh, cool. Then I like at one point had one Jarvan with the Rabadons and one Jarvan with just nothing on it, and was able to just boost my whole team's attack speed. And that carried me through the early game like real good with some chronos. So like it was really, really cool. And I'm definitely going to be exploring that way more. It definitely all kind of fell into my lap, right? It was just like I was winning that game, I think, regardless of what comp I was running, because I had such like an economy lead. But seeing that attack speed buff like really made me think, man. It really made me think, and I think it's viable. I think like if you build like a Rabadons and then 2 tank items on the Jarvan, so like the Ashe always has that attack speed. I think like, I think if you put like a Warmogs and a Titan's Resolve on them with the
Mm-hmm.
Rabadons, it's
Mm-hmm.
still enough. So you get your tank and a utility character all in one. I like it.
Well, it's also really interesting because if you're building, an Ash comp or a comp that wants attack speed, it's like if you just get a bunch of large rods, you're just kind of like, well, I guess I can't do that.
Hmm.
But if you throw them on a Jarvan, all of a
Yeah,
sudden that
because
your AP gets converted into attack speed.
well, and then like the other thing that like I was like, I don't even need this Rage Blade. Right? Like
Right.
it was total overkill. And I wish I could have put like an IE. The Bloodthirster was
Mm-hmm.
really, really nice, but
Mm-hmm.
like I wanted to avoid like a Shojin because I actually didn't want her to ult all that much because the
Right.
DPS was what I needed.
Right.
And of course it was clutch when she ulted, but man, the theory crafting, like I don't remember the last time like I had that much fun because I could
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you the other people in my lobby had no idea why my team comp was doing so well, right? Because I didn't
Right.
have any complete like all of my synergies other than like I had the sniper synergy were like it was
Mm-hmm.
more like a blender comp than anything else.
Right.
And so like they probably had no clue like why my Ash was just pumping this damage. And that was like
Yeah.
the other fun part about it.
Well, that also, I mean, something like that is something that we haven't I don't think we saw really at all in set 2. Because set 2 it was like, okay, for each meta, like the comps kind of lined up and got air quotes solved, and then the meta sort of stayed in that point until there was a nerf or a buff or a change of some sort. In set 1, I remember back to the Korean Rangers comp that ran
Oh yeah.
Evelyn.
The Kindred, Evelyn, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Evelyn was not like, and it was like a splash, and the meta shifted, but like it went from like 1 week it was like, oh, Evelyn is the worst unit into the game, and then with very minimal changes or maybe even no changes, I don't remember. It was, oh, Evelyn is actually busted, and if you can pick up the Evelyns early, like you just crush. And again, there's a lot of different things from then. The player damage was different, but um, like things like that. It's like right now, it's like, well, you either build rebels with your GP, or what's like which 5 cost unit do you sink into, or do you go Celestial Jin and 3-star the Jin, like, or not, sorry, not Jin, Xin Zhao. Do you go 3-star Xin Zhao with Rakan, or do you go rebels, or like pick your 5 cost unit that you want to stack? Those are like the accepted, and there's like Star Guardian and stuff and Cybernetic, but it's like those are the accepted builds right now. But it's like, who have we seen anything about putting items on Jin? Like, again, like that utility is something that we don't, like, I don't think we
Hmm.
see. We don't, and maybe it's bad. It's possible, but I don't see a lot of experimenting with it. Like, what if like stacking, like, even if it's just like one, like finding that point where it's like, well, maybe if you just put like this much AD or AP on Blitzcrank, you just one shot, and then you're just automatically killing a unit, and then like you put a
And that's
Zephyr on
better
him,
than
it's
a
like,
Zephyr. Yeah,
or you do
exactly.
both, and it's like it doubles.
Yeah.
It's like essentially like doubles it. Like,
So I looked up some stats and for my round, and so this was a 40 round game. That's nuts,
wow,
and I won 39 of them.
wow.
Right, like so, like that is like, and for me, maybe it's because I'm still climbing. Right, I haven't played
Sure,
like a ton of games because I'm
sure.
gonna start. I'm trying to start streaming my climb here soon, and so like I was trying to like keep it under control, but man, like the yes, 3-starring the Jarvan, I think it was like 3-2 or something like that. So it was like
Hmm.
really, really early. And like everyone, and I wasn't originally trying to go after this comp because
Right.
like almost all of my packs had 50% Jarvans in it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to
You
go
played
this
what you
way,
were
I
given.
guess. Yeah, exactly. And so I 3-starred them, but their Rabadon's on, and it was amazing. Like I had so much fun, like seeing Shake. So my final team comp was Jarvan, Ash, Jin, who was also a Celestial, and a Star Guardian.
Celestial.
Celestial. I've got Shaco, Nico, Rakan, Zinzao, Mord, and Lulu,
Mhm.
which was just like to finish off my Mystic, I think. Um,
She's
because
also
I
a
turned.
celestial.
Oh, that's what it was. So it was just to get the Celestial.
Celestial.
Right? So yeah, it was still kind of like hyper roll Celestial protectors, but I don't know, man. That Ash, maybe like put Zeke's so like everyone else. Oh, Zeke's could be a good item, so like everyone else even attacks
And we don't
faster.
see Zeke's at all. Like
Yeah.
really, it's like
And so like,
almost never made.
well, I would love to see that utility because something that really excited me back when Kaisa got released was her shield, right? And I was like, oh, it'd be super funny, like if you just built a bunch of AP on her and her shield was just enormous every
Oh, you
time
mean in Kaisa in set 1?
yeah, and that she would just ult and just be a tank. Right?
Right, we talked
As
about that,
opposed
yeah.
yeah, no one like of course that wasn't gonna be good. Of course that wasn't the intention, but this is the best I've ever seen it work so far. So
Right.
maybe this is what Mort was talking about in terms of innovation. Right? It wasn't doing damage, it wasn't putting damage items on people, it was putting Rabadon's death cap on Jarvan. So you're, 80 carries, because you could do this with an infiltrator build too. And have
Right.
your infiltrators attack way fast.
Yeah, it boils down to what we talked about ad nauseum in last episode, so we won't go into it more, but it's like there's an accepted build. People build that a lot. They make minor tweaks to it rather than like, oh, what if I put what if I stack Vi, right? Like, I mean, yes, you can put Morello's on her. That's sort of somewhat that's somewhat of a common build. But it's like, what if you stack Vi with like Morello and 2 death caps or something like that, and she just completely like bowls right through the rebel comps, right? Like, what if you do that? What if you run I don't know how you what it boils down to is like I don't actually know how you could possibly counter Gangplank 2 with a Guardian Angel, but at least in this patch. So I mean, maybe that's why this discussion. But like, we don't see that. We don't see like, I mean, people will get a 3-star or like a 3-star Jace or something. It's like, oh well, if you're not running Space Pirates, you don't do it. But maybe, well, Jace is probably not a good answer, but maybe he is. Like, I don't know. We don't ever see that. You don't see like, even if you get a 3-star, like Rakan or something, like you're not necessarily like, they're always the secondary unit, but it's like, what if you just stack these like, support items or support units? It's like, I don't know. I think it's something to think about, and people don't experiment with it because like, you don't want to lose rank or whatever.
And I think like the number one thing that I think people need to kind of help them experiment with this is to think about that item not being just for the person that you're building it for. Right. That a lot of these items can masquerade as like a Locket or a Zeke's where you're helping teammates too. And that's what that Rabadon's on this Jarvan was.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just an item for Jarvan. And it actually wasn't an item for Jarvan at all. Only to increase his own attack speed. Right. But I think the value of providing it, I got an early Ashe and providing it to Ashe that way was what carried me through those, that initial win streak, and then putting everything together was really fun. But yeah, I'd love to see some wacky comps, right? That aren't necessarily wacky, that just kind of seem wacky, because yes, this
you mean the Jimmy the Shovel comp?
Yeah, this could totally be cheese. But I mean, stacking Xin Zhao ended up being a thing, right? So like,
there's a fine line between cheese and tier 1, right?
Yeah.
Very fine line, and the line is usually consistency, right?
Yep. And so I've had a really good week. I won 2 games yesterday in a row.
That's awesome.
Fun. What about you?
I've been on like the always a 5th, 6th, never a 1st type of like streak. Like,
lots of 4ths for me.
Like, I haven't gotten 8th in a while, but like, I had the pet comp of Star Guardian Sorcerer, and just really liked that comp because it's like the Syndra, like 3-star Syndra is just so cool, and just like all the whatever they're called, the missiles or whatever they are, it's just so cool and fun. But like, the problem is that people metagaming against the Rebels comp has indirectly hurt Star Guardian Sorcerer, because like you're stacking magic resistance against Rebels so that you don't just die to Gangplank when he ults. But that also indirectly is like, well, I guess your whole comp being sorcerers is not that great when you've got 4 mystics all the time, or like making dragon's claws and whatnot. And So it's like I had like the 3 stars that I needed, like the Ari, the Syndra, the I don't know if I had 3-star Nico or not, but like with like pretty much the items that you want, like, and I'm just getting 6th place with it. It's like when the Celestial Hyper Roll comp comes in, it's like it just dominates it because it's got so much magic resistance in that Sinjao. Unless you, I mean, I know that it says that Syndra targets the highest health, I think is what it is, but it never seems like it does. It's like, how does the 3-star Sinjao not have the most health? So how am I not targeting it?
Yeah.
So it's like always the last unit. It will always win like a 1v. It will always win like anything better than a 1v3. Like if it gets down to the Sinjao versus 3 other units, it's always going to win. And anything better than that, it's just not even close. So can't do that. And then also like I still am not good against the I'm not good against the Gangplank comps unless I snipe their Gangplank and they don't have a Guardian Angel. So I'm losing. Like I get to a point where I'm like I get on a big win streak and then I use that to 3-star my units and then I keep winning a little bit more and then everyone else gets their like level 8, level 9 power ups and I'm just like I can't get any better than this, right? Like I don't get stronger than this. I'm capped and I can't. Unlike the Evelyn comp of old, I can't kill people like before they hit level 8 because player damage isn't enough early on. So I'm not saying that they
Yeah.
should change that. I'm just saying that because that's not the case, I can't do anything about that with these early power streaks.
Yeah. They have
With that
got
comp
to shorten the
specifically,
game time. Speaking of taking a little bit more damage earlier on.
I think so too. And this is going off the rails a little bit, but I have been playing in the last 2 weeks. I have been playing a ton of Clash Royale and Brawl Stars.
Mhm.
Just
Why?
to what's that?
Why?
Because I love those games and
Oh, okay.
I've been playing Clash Royale since it was in beta, and I have gone on and off with that game for a long time. And the reason I started playing up again because I didn't even have them installed for a while, but I've sunken cost fallacy. I have hundreds at least of dollars in each of those games. Yeah. Uh, but I started playing them again because it's like, oh, Legends of Runeterra and TFT are coming to mobile. Like, let's just see what. I was just kind of curious. Like, let's just see what I consider triple A mobile titles. So I played a little bit of like PUBG Mobile and all these other mobile games. I can't get into the BR mobile games. They just seem too clunky. But Supercell, at least with TFT, or at least with Clash Royale and with Brawl Stars, are like what I consider the epitome of good mobile games. Like they maybe are a little bit predatory with how they do their like monetizations and stuff, and they like are very good at essentially just vacuum cleaning out Scrooge McDuck levels of money out of people for how their game progression is. But that aside, the gameplay is super super good, super engaging, super fun, and like you get an entire game, a competitive feeling game in 3 minutes tops, like or like 5 minutes tops. I think if you play like the tournament mode with like the triple overtime or whatever, the game hard ends at 5 minutes, and that feels like a long time. Like I said this years ago, but Clash Royale ruined gaming for me because and I thought Hearthstone ruined it for me before because it's like, oh, I can get a full like I get what I get from Magic the Gathering in half the time. In terms of like competitive and feeling like my decisions are impactful and whatnot. And it's like I get that in Clash Royale in even half of the time. So it's like a game like it really kept me from playing like League of Legends and Dota and even like Magic the Gathering for a long time. So it's like, man, how can I justify playing a 40-minute or 50-minute or like, an hour plus long game of Dota when I can get the same level of competition in 5 minutes and I can like, play so many more games in that. It's just like, whether that's good or bad, that's how my personal like mindset has changed. So I don't even remember where I was going with this, but I think that reducing the game time is definitely something that they want to do or should want to do. I don't know what level you get it to, because there's no way you can play a game of TFT in 3 minutes, right? Like, that's not the goal. It shouldn't be. That's kind of crazy. But even like, I don't know if Underlords has it, or if it was like the NetEase auto battler. I don't remember what it's called. That had like, maybe it wasn't. It doesn't matter. But they have like chaos mode or something where you get like 10 times as much. Like, you have like 1,000 gold or like 100 gold to start with, and like, Underlords did a thing where you don't lose health, you lose lives, and you have like 5 lives or something. So every time you lose a life. It was something like that. So like, that's a different mode, obviously, but that type of thing is, I think, something that if you're a mobile game, that's what you should be going for. And I think that they are sort of pushing that a little bit. So I don't know that you make TFT like, you don't cut the time in half, but I think trimming the time down is certainly something that you should be doing, or that they should be doing. I know that that's something that they're looking to do. So, long story short, add me on Clash Royale. No, I've been playing way too much lately, honestly. But back to TFT. Before we go on the break and talk about the patch notes, just wanted to mention that Giant Slayer did put out their series, and they announced the players that are going to be in it. So that's going to be a cool tournament to follow as well. Gunmay, Becca Tilts, Raditz, Kurum, Fluffy, Delicious Milk, Soju, Scott the Timo, Aegon, Thien, Solus, Kiting is Hard, Kayun, Albert, who is Mismatched Socks, I believe, Des 1K, and Crowan are the players in that event. So a lot of familiar names, a lot of people we've seen in fight nights, folks that we've known and seen in the community and playing. So really cool event there that we'll certainly be we'll be following week to week, and you should definitely check that out as well.
Definitely. There's not a lot of high tier play like that, and these are some of the best players in the world.
I would argue that there's none right now. At least that is announced that we know of. So, yeah, definitely check that out. But we're going to go on a quick break here. When we come back, we'll be talking about the new patch, going through the patch notes. Patch 10.7. See you in just a minute. If you're looking for the best place to stay in touch with the community, go to discord.me/Little Legends Podcast, where we do game night, where we have all of the resources for the show, and where we keep the conversation going after it's done. So make sure you're joining discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the break. We are going to round out the episode here, like we always do, talking about the brand new patch at 10.7. We'll start it off. This one starts off, "Welcome, rebel scum." Nice touch. One patch in, and things are looking good in the galaxies. The big highlight of this patch, introducing the new set mechanic into the wild. 3 new galaxies bring with them unique rules and will force you to adapt your tried and true strategies. On the balance front, we're taking some power away from our premier top 5 or tier 5 units. They're supposed to be strong and still will be, but they're currently functioning too well without team support. Looking at you, Gangplank. Don't underestimate the power of Darkstar, as they're getting a fancy little rework to help their consistency. And perhaps the most important change, your champions will now celebrate with you when you win a round. Take this portal if you're... Okay, that's the league. Sorry. Let's get into it.
You're, I think both of us are those people who would like totally get baited by like a teleprompter prank.
Oh, 100%. I
Yeah.
did, and it's not even a prank.
A lot of changes.
Yes, and they will be linked in the show notes, of course. So if you want to check those out along with us, go right ahead. Boop, you want to start us off with these galaxies and other stuff?
Our galaxies are expanding from 0 to 3. It's here and with pomp and circumstance. Originally composed by a composer named Elgar, by the way. It's Pomp and Circumstance.
You
Song
will
of
be
Congratulations.
a gaming podcaster. For those of you playing the Little Legends podcast drinking game at home, Boop made at least a subtle reference to the fact that he was a music major. So take your drink.
God, I'm so full of myself. As a reminder of all your TFT games, have a chance to start with one of the following effects or no effect at all. You can tap the galaxy icon at the top banner to find out more information about any specific galaxy.
Ooh.
The first one, the Nicoverse. Everyone gets 2 free copies of Nico's Help. I'm actually really intrigued by that one.
Yeah.
The next one is Lilac Nebula. The first carousel contains only 4 cost units. That was named something else, but now it's Lilac Nebula.
The Lilac Nebula.
And the next one is Medium Legends. Little Legends are larger, and you have plus 25 starting health. Talk about getting rid of some game time, huh?
Yeah. Woof. Does not do that.
The Lilac Nebula should go a little faster. But the other ones are going to be the Nico probably going to go faster too.
Nico will probably go faster. So this opens up. I mean, this is going to be our breeding ground of like. This is our first real look into what is the effect and impact of the galaxies, right? I've heard both sides of it. We did a poll a couple weeks ago about just initial thoughts of what do you think the galaxies will do in terms of competitive play, and I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I think it was like 60 or 70% of people said that it would make it better, which is interesting. There are some folks I've talked to as well that are like completely anti-galaxy, like almost to the point of ruins the game, ruins the competitive integrity, makes it like a clown fiesta, to paraphrase. And I don't. So I think as a whole, the galaxies are probably fine, but I'm a little interested to see how Nico Universe and the Lilac Nebula galaxy specifically work out, because it's like, there's what if you don't necessarily think it's too bad, right? It's like everyone gets a 4-cost unit at the beginning. Okay, that's not too terrible, but like if you extrapolate it, it's like, what if it were a 5-cost unit? How often are the 5-cost units balanced compared to themselves, right? And how impactful are they? It's like the 4-cost units are similarly impactful, I think, a lot of times. Like an early Cho'Gath or something could be huge. An early Jin, like an early Jinx, like how good is that, right? Versus like if you get a Soraka or something on the opening carousel, it's like,
well, I mean, and it's also 4 gold, right? Like that's a lot of gold early on.
Well, it is.
You want to try to like buy a bunch of units after that,
well,
right? Because
I don't
know.
Well, that part of it I think is fine, because it's like everyone has the 4 gold is the same for everyone, right? And whether it's good to keep your opening unit or sell it is a different discussion. But it's like, think of I'm interested to see like what the delta in terms of like win rate between the best 4-cost unit and the worst 4-cost unit are, like in terms of if they're in your final comp, what is your win rate? Like what's the delta between number 1 and number whatever the lowest one is?
Yeah. Because I remember the only time I played this universe is of course on the PBE, and I got a Jin first, and that was great. But then I never got another Jin. Right. So like even that, like I think what's going to happen, it's just going to make 4 costs overall that much more rare. Right. When you finally do start thinking about building them up, because I mean a lot of them are out of the pool before you even get to 4 costs. Right, so you have 8 players with a 4-cost unit, and I'm going to assume that some of them are going to be doubles, right? Like there might be 2 Jins or 2, for some reasons or 2 Cho'Gaths, right? If Void ever becomes a thing, and then we'll see what happens after that, because in terms of the 4 cost units, if I'm thinking about all of them, I actually don't think the power discrepancy is huge between them.
Maybe not. I'm just thinking like
Um,
Jinx and Soraka seem like, just off the top of my head, seem like the two that would be the biggest delta.
hmm,
Again, I have no idea what the stats are. And I might look
yeah.
like an idiot. More may send out a tweet and be like, actually, they're exactly the same, and I just look like an idiot. But just my thought is that those would be two
Jinx might
pretty
actually
different
have
ones.
a hard time early on, especially if
Yeah,
they're going up against like Leonas and stuff. Like once,
sure.
because a lot of the earlier units are
Jinx
tankier.
early is certainly not super great,
Yeah, and so like
but
you're
like
sacrificing by
guaranteeing that
making.
you're getting the Jinx.
Yeah, but you're also sacrificing some early game potential, and I think that's the type of thought that they
Right.
want you to go through.
I agree.
But we shall see, right? Like that's something we say all the time when we talk about patch notes. But I don't think these galaxies are necessarily doing anything completely crazy. I think
Hmm.
the Lilac universe is the craziest of the three, for sure. Just based off of like how different that's going to play compared to regular TFT, I think it's going
Hmm.
to be pretty different, to say the least.
I
It
think all of
changes
them
almost.
kind of are.
Um, I actually think Nicoverse is going to be a lot more standard than you would assume, because I think that a lot of people with their Nico's help kind of use them when they need them, as opposed. Now that you have them at the beginning, you can kind of think about, okay, I'm going to fast level to 7 so I can maybe luck into 2 misfortunes, or I can
Right.
luck into a misfortune and use both Nikos on a
Right.
strong tier 5 unit. And I can almost guarantee you that's a reason why we'll talk about this. They're going to be appearing less often, and a lot of
Hmm.
them are getting nerfed. Is on a Nicoverse, almost everyone's going to have could
Right.
have a 2 cost 5, a tier 2 5 cost unit. So
Hmm.
that's definitely how things I see it being changed, is maybe leveling becomes a lot faster, which makes the game go faster, which is good.
Hmm.
Because there is in Hearthstone Battlegrounds, there is a new hero. It's Reno, that you can just gold a card, which is the same thing as like tier 2ing something.
Hmm.
And the way that you play that character is completely different than everyone else,
Right.
in terms of you fast level and focus on experience, and you lose on purpose, and then you get to really fast, you know, level 2 really powerful thing, and then all of a sudden things change.
Right.
Right? Like everything flips because this one unit is all you need, but you lost 29 health before you even
Hmm.
got to this unit, right? And
Right.
so if everyone's doing that, that's really interesting. How you counter that, that's really interesting. That's why, and honestly, I think Nico's is like a really good way to get rid of some frustration of not being able to find a unit,
Yeah.
right? And I think that it's good in general. I think I mentioned when we first heard of the Nicoverse, I was like, honestly, when I think of Nicoverse, everyone's starting off with some Nikos. Doesn't seem like it seems like it could be a mechanic, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I'm excited about. That balance for 4 costs, definitely something that you have to think about. And 125 health is a round or 2 extra. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to do this for bigger little legends. But there is another Hearthstone hero. You were playing Battlegrounds back then, Stitches,
Yep.
that started
Stitches
with
was
just
good.
extra health.
Yeah.
And just because you got an extra round, you got to last longer than some other people. But
Hmm.
since everyone is starting with the health, I don't know. Outside of just the game being longer, I'd love for people who are better than me at the game to explain to me the differences
Yeah.
of what mid game is going to be, and how you're going to interact with levels like 4 through 7, because it's going to be a longer game.
It definitely seems like you're just like, your eyes are stuck on level 9. You're never like, it almost seems like you don't want to roll at all ever. Like you just want as much like gold in the long run as possible. And like lose streaking is probably really good in that, but I don't know. Again, we'll see. And yeah, I mean, I think Nicoverse is super super cool if it's like, if there actually is play with like, okay, well, I got like an early Ash. Let me 2-star this Ash right away and like crush the middle game, and then actually be able to like compete with the people who are going to have 2-star 5 cost, right? That's a really cool wrinkle or strategy. But if it's always like, yeah, just get to level 7 as fast as possible, roll all of
Yeah,
your gold to get whatever legendary, and then you just win, like you just get it from there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
less compelling.
totally. I think the whole point of these universes is to increase variability in these games and have them be less linear in general,
Oh,
right?
for
And
sure.
provide different experiences. And what you're talking about is exactly why it's so fun, right?
Right.
Is like I like it when things kind of come down to, do I sell this unit right now?
Right.
Right, like,
Yeah.
or like, am I going to switch out this synergy because I think it's stronger and then lose the next 9 games?
Hmm.
Right, when if I had and like when it kind of comes down to these like 50-50 choices, and I think what you're speaking of is one of those choices,
Hmm.
right? Do I get an early 3 cost to tier 2, right, which will carry me through
Right.
everyone who's deciding to wait till their 5 cost units, because that could just be a bait, right?
Right.
And I'm excited for these really high level players to start min maxing on maps that are going to have different kinds of min maxing,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And what that looks like, because I am really interested to see what Medium Legends is going to bring in terms of the mid game, right? Like
Yeah.
if stocking some units and or loose streaking, which is something that hasn't really been super popular since Sent 1.
Hmm.
Um, I'd love for all that to kind of come back, but we'll see. We've been spending a lot of time on this though, so
Yeah. I would be interested to see if this is where we start seeing like the pods of people like doing in-house scrims or tests that are like, oh, we know how to win. We know how to win Nicoverse. It's like, it's not get your 2-star 5 cost. It's like get like this, or like on Lilac Nebula, just always sell, and like something like that. I think that would be cool if like
Mhm.
people, like you see someone in like a tournament or something that are doing something completely different and it just breaks it. That's fun to watch, and then the meta will change,
Well,
etc.
actually, you saying something about tournaments, and like something that, as a caster, that I hate, right, is when in games like the openings are all the same, right? Like in
Right.
Overwatch for Paris, for example, right,
Right.
on that map, the offense always comes out on 1 or 2 comps, right?
Right.
For Hearthstone, or for these for Zulok, right? It's the same thing. You want the same thing every single
Hmm.
time. Right. And I think as a caster, when we get Nicoverse, the fact that we get to look at every single player and see what choice they've made and
Right.
get to talk about that as content is good for the game.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now, what I see in terms of TFT casting is everyone kind of just ignoring the first 3 rounds or
True.
4 rounds, right? Until we get to like the thick of the game. But with these Nicoverses, with the Nicoverse and with the Lilac Nebula, you really get to talk about the early game being important,
Hmm.
with decision making actually coming into play rather
Right.
than just seeing what units you get and building a comp around that, right?
Hmm.
Like the decision making and the power of that decision making is so much stronger earlier on, I think, in those universes.
Yeah.
As a caster, I'm really excited to kind of dive deep and talk about those things, which will bring us into the meat of the game. And so
Yeah.
I think it kind of, not just for a player, but as a spectator and someone who casts over these games, I'm really excited to see those early game decisions
Hmm.
become more important.
Yeah. I think it'll definitely be more interesting from a casting perspective, if not if nothing else. Okay, there's some other system stuff that happened. Shop level 8 drops decreased the chance of getting 5 cost units from 7% to 6%. And also, so it went from 13, 20, 35, 25, 7 to 14, 20, 35, 25, 6. So reduced the low end and the high end. Or reduced, took a percent away from one costs, or took a percent away from 5 costs and put it into 1 cost. So slightly easier to get 1 cost units and harder to get 5 cost units on level 8. So probably just a
Yeah.
small thing there. The rules for which items stay and which bounce off when combining champions now prioritizes items on champions on the board over those you get from carousel. So that's a big quality of life one, because it was just like
Huge.
random chance if you get screwed over because you want to get this item or you want to get this champion. It's like you can completely ruin your build.
Now your Jarvan has the Rapid on stack.
Right. Well, I mean that is just accidental genius.
Yep.
But yeah, that's
My
just a
favorite
big
kind.
quality of life one. I love that
Yeah,
one.
totally.
The odds of seeing quote special carousel has been reduced, which I think is the like all tier or like only defensive items, etc.
Hmm.
And then remove the additional 5 seconds per planning phase that is done at the start of each round. The timers are now back to
Shortening
normal.
game time.
Right. I heard Mort talking about this on stream, and they add that 5 seconds at the beginning of all the sets so that people get a chance to read the units. But now it's going to be reduced. So
Yeah,
that's good.
that should at least take a good 2 to 5 minutes off the game time, which is
Yeah.
good. I think if they could get it as close to 30 minutes as possible, I think that's the sweet spot. Like I had a 42-minute game, and
Yeah.
that's too long.
Yep.
That's longer than a League of Legends game regularly,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of times people play a game like this or like Idle Legends or something like that to kind of just like go through it, right? And I'm not sure a 40-minute game is peak potential for TFT.
Again, slight sidebar into my rant about Supercell games is like I do think that they have that 3 to 5 minute game, like they have that on lockdown, they have that optimized. That's perfect. TFT and even Legends of Runeterra isn't. I don't think should try to be that, but also like they need to define what that next tier of mobile game is in a lot of ways, because it's like, is it 20? Is it 30? I agree with you. Once you are closer to an hour than a half an hour, that's thumbs down in my mind. Because like I'm just thinking, just like having been playing these games, it's like I am going from like I'm at work or something and I want to just take a quick like a break or something. And if I have like even a 30-minute like sort of break, am I gonna fire up a TFT game? Maybe a normal game, but I'm definitely not doing a ranked game. Because it's like if push comes to shove, like, and I need to stop this game because it's going and it's pushing closer to 40 than 30, I'm not going to do it. But like I'm firing off, Clash Royale games without a second thought, or Brawl Stars games on those breaks without a thought. So it's like, where does this next tier, or maybe not, tier's probably not the right, but where does this next, echelon of game?
When is this innovation going to show itself in the mobile space from Riot, right?
Right. Just innovate, forehead. Just define.
Yeah.
Just define the genre, forehead.
That easy, man.
Yeah.
People have been trying to do it for since phones could run games.
Right.
I'm sure if anyone could be right.
Yeah. I got another tip for you, and this is a free one, Riot, by the way. Only buy stocks that are going to go up. It's just,
I love it.
I love
it. It's
funny.
Another really great tip: make money. Anyway, so let's talk about these. Let's talk about these traits.
Yes. Blade Master chance to proc is going from 55% to 60%. So
before you move on, you got to give these guys props to finally, I think, getting Blade Masters closest to being right than they've ever have been. So far,
yeah.
they came in underpowered, but like I'd rather something like Blade Masters come in underpowered than have to go through Nocturne again. Right. And just kind of like the spaghetti code that was involved with Blade Masters has obviously gotten better. This time around, you got to give them props for that. It's this trait is just not grotesquely overtuned once again.
Yeah.
In a row.
I kind of like, I don't want to go too deep into Blade Master because I think inherently it's just a boring trait. Like it's just like you get attack speed procs every once in a while, and it's like, okay. So it's like inherently it's like the better you make it, the more it's just like, oh well, you're just adding numbers. You're adding attack speed, which I mean, like you can probably break down a lot of things in the game to that if you really think about it. But like Blade Master itself is just like, it's just kind of a boring trait. So when it was really good, it was Busted, Azir, Nocturne Blender, like all those things. It's like it can be cool on certain champions, and I like the fact that you can put it on certain like you can make champions that. So like does Blade Master work favorably with Jhin? I don't actually know the answer to that. I'm assuming it does, but I don't know. But so like that's cool, but like I don't really want too much to be like, I think it's really a secondary trait, and I almost would rather see it like only as like half of a trait. So it's like you're not wasting, like Kale isn't wasted. Kale's trait isn't wasted on Blade Master. She's like a Valkyrie, Blade Master, Cybernetic or something. I mean, that would probably be too good, but like you get what I'm saying, where it's like old Gangplank was Brawler, or was Pirate, Blade Master, Gunslinger. So like Blade Master didn't take away essentially half of their trait. It only took away a third. I don't know. Something to think about. But yeah, that props to them for making it not broken. because it's boring when it's broken.
Some people are like, props to them for them doing their jobs. This has been a thing for 3 sets, and I'm okay with where it's at.
Yeah.
Right now.
I am as well.
The show on the
yes. Okay. Brawler health. Brawler's getting a buff at 6 brawlers, right? Is it 6 or is it 4? No, it's 4 brawlers.
Yeah, 2 and 4.
And not a buff, a nerf. They're going from 300, 750 to 300, 700. I can't read.
Just don't listen to anything he said.
Maybe I have dyslexia. Chrono attack speed going from 15, 35, 65% to 15, 35, 75%. So stacking that 6 chrono, getting much better. Reworking Darkstar to when a Darkstar champion dies, all other allied Darkstar champions gain plus 25 at 3 or plus 35 at 6 Darkstars, attack damage and spell power. So like light, but getting damage and spell power rather than attack speed and health. Reworking Mana Reaver as well to now at 2. The bonus is now Mana Reaver's attacks increase the mana cost of their target's next spell by 40%. There is no longer a 4-piece bonus. So making it much like reducing it down, making it kind of, again, feel like a secondary trait. More like poison kind of was. Mystic's magic resistance is going from 30-120 to 35-105. So nerfing 4 Mystic, buffing 2 Mystic. I like that change a lot, actually. And then sniper bonus damage going from 12% to 15%. So slight sniper buff. So Jin looking real nice right now, maybe.
I like that Mystic change a lot, too, because I don't really want to put 4 Mystics in my comp.
Well, you don't really want to put it in as the person playing it, but you feel obligated to. And then the person playing the magic comp, it's like, well, guess I don't do damage. And there's not like what am I supposed to do as the Star? Like, if I'm a Star Guardian player, Star Guardian Sorcerer player, like, what do I pivot to? I guess you can technically pivot to like Voids and have the true damage on your Vel'Koz, but even that, like, that's something you got to think about, right? Like, and then all of a sudden your like marquee, like, just played the 6 Star Guardians comp seems really, really bad, and can be completely countered. So I think there's a little something there, but yeah, this is a really good change. So it's like you're like, if you really want to go all in on the magic damage, you still have something to do, even if they have 4 Mystic. So, and then 2 Mystic is just a much more viable running. Okay, Boop, start us off with some champs.
All right, so there's over 20 different changes here, guys. So we're not going to talk about all of them.
Right.
We'll definitely talk about them because a lot of people in Chrono got buffed and some Star Guardians got buffed. So we'll talk about it more in general. Did you want to read through all these?
Sure. I'll power read through them, and then you can pick and curate some that we'll talk about.
Let's put some rules in place for us this time around. We are not allowed to comment, either of us, until after we're all done reading.
Until I say 999%, we're not commenting.
Okay, sounds good.
Tier 1 champions. Caitlyn, spellcast time 1.5 seconds down to 1.1 second. Caitlyn now resumes attacking more quickly after firing her bullet. Xayah, attack speed going from 0.75 up to 0.8. Ziggs, total mana going from 40 up to 45. Zoe, starting mana in total going from 90, 120 to 70, 100. Zoe, spell damage 150, 120, 150, 225, 300 to 150, 225, 400. Tier 2 champions. Darius health going from 650 up to 750. Xin Zhao, how do you say that? I'm putting a pause here.
Xin Zhao.
Xin Zhao. That feels wrong on my.
I think it's Xin Zhao.
Xin Zhao.
If it was Xin Zhao, it probably would be ZH, right? So
I don't know enough about the.
I got you. Xin Zhao.
Xin Zhao. Okay.
Xin Zhao.
Xin Zhao. Total mana 50 up to 60. Xin Zhao, I probably said it differently there. Spell damage going from 175, 250, 350 to 200, 275, 375. For the tier 3 champions, Ezreal, total starting mana going from 60, 120 to 50, 125. Ezreal spell damage going from 250, 350, 700 to 200, 300, 600. Kassadin, total mana going from 100 down to 80. Shaco, bonus spell damage going from 250, 325, 450% to 250, 325, 400%. For tier 4 champions, Soraka, total mana going from 150 down to 125. Soraka's healing going from 300, 450, 2000 to 350, 500, 2000. Vel'Koz, total mana going from 80 down to 70. Wukong health going from 850 up to 950. And for the tier 5 champions, we've got Aurelion Souls spell damage going from 120, 175, 750 to 100, 150, 750. Aurelion Souls target selection per fighter launched is now random, it was weighted random favoring nearby. So now it's complete random. It was slightly weighted towards people who are close to Aurelion Soul. Echo spell damage going from 250, 450, 2000 to 225, 400, 2000. Gangplanks starting in total mana going from 150 to 75, 175. Gangplank spell damage going from 650, 850, 9001 to 450, 600, 9001. Lulu's attack speed going from 0.85 down to 0.8. And Misfortune's attack speed going from 1.1 down to 1.0. Misfortune's mana going from 50, 150 to 75, 175. Spell damage going from 70%, 90% to 999% down to 60%, 80%, 999%. Let's talk.
Hey, snaps for you, my friend.
Ooh.
Snaps for you. I know we've been waiting since hopefully we were at least 6 years old, but man, the pressure. So there are definitely two things that popped out at me when it came to what I think they're trying to do here. Number one is they're nerfing a lot of the when you get your 3 stars.
Yep.
And so a lot of the nerfs are only to that tier. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of people are rolling into some 3-star comps, particularly on those 3 cost units.
Yep.
Shaco was definitely the number one that I heard most often talked
Shaco
about.
and Xin Zhao, I think, for me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to see them getting those nerfs. A lot of them are pretty, small-ish, like
Reasonable.
25.
Yeah.
Reasonable. The other one that I wanted to talk about is that they're kind of just cleaning up everyone who is auto attack based. It looks like I think those Caitlyn buffs are going to be massive. She's already like not a terrible starting unit, right? And now with now that her auto attacking is going to resume quicker, like it used to be like, okay, Caitlyn ults, I guess she's dead now.
Right. True.
Right now, 0.4 seconds is kind of a I mean, the cast time is way shorter, and she's going to be attacking, so the amount of unused time there has really been cleaned up, and I think that's going to really help Caitlyn's DPS, especially since snipers also got buffed. So if you're able to land 2 snipers early, Caitlyn's going to be pushing out, I think, a lot more damage than she used to. But I think that is more so like it's Caitlyn, it's the Blade Masters. Those are the kind of 2 things that I really saw here. What about you?
Well, a couple of things. So Xin Zhao got a mana nerf, got more, so it's going to be harder to cast his spells, but he actually got a buff on the spell damage. So actually going to be doing more spell damage when you actually get that alt off. I think this is an interesting change because I don't know that I would have wanted to see a buff for Xin Zhao, but or a burf rather for Xin Zhao. I would have just liked a nerf. But that being said, I don't think it's the damage of Xin Zhao's spell that is the problem with him, or the real power of him. It's he's unkillable, and this makes that slightly better because he's going to be casting fewer alts. So honestly, in terms of damage per second, this might have just been like a flat, maybe like just a small nerf. I can't do the math in my head for that, like how long it takes to get that extra 10 mana or whatever.
The spell is 3 different attacks, right? So these numbers seem small, but I think increasing the spell damage actually makes his kind of fantasy better, because AP Xin Zhao is a thing, right? It happened once upon a time, right, with the healing, but it's not how you currently play them. And well, I like how some of the units in TFT get, like Jarvan and the AP build, right,
Right.
that we were talking about earlier. I also think that they should look a lot like the characters in the game. So, like, say you're a TFT only player, you start liking Xin Zhao, then you build AP items on him once you hit League of Legends, right? That could happen, and something I'm sure they're thinking about. But the increase in DPS is because I actually think he's going to be losing out on a good amount of it. 10
Mm-hmm.
mana is a whole other attack,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you can be killed during.
True.
So hopefully we'll see that come into balance. But I think you're right. Seeing a buff to Xin Zhao, I actually think I made a guttural sound when I saw it. Just feels weird.
Yeah.
Even if it's a burf, right?
Right.
So
I hope it's overall a little bit of a nerf. I would like to point out a point of contention I have in that I actually don't want there to be any. I don't care at all about there being a correlation between League and TFT in terms of like the things that you build in TFT or things that you build in League, because I don't want to like. I think that. I mean, we've been talking about it
I
a
think
bunch.
I'm not saying it's like super important. I think it's a back of your mind type of thing, right? That if you completely, I don't know, because the games are related, right? They're
They
the
are
same characters,
right.
right? And I think the characters are what brings people to League of Legends more so than a lot of other things.
Right.
I just think that, like, for me, as I also play a lot of regular League, too
Mhm.
much of it, that could be something that happens. And just a thought that I have. It's
Yeah,
not necessarily a bad thing.
I
But
do.
there needs to be, I think, some correlation between League as kind of like the master game. And I know that we want TFT to be like its own mobile experience and having
Right.
those characters there themselves, but is that even possible with that correlation of the characters,
Right.
right? That's my thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we're coming from two different spots, so I'm wondering. I mean, I'm curious what Riot's thought on that is, because it's like,
Yeah, that'd be really interesting to hear, because like I honestly wouldn't care if they were like, oh, we don't care, right? Then I'm like,
right.
okay, then I don't care. But it's that easy.
Yeah.
But the overarching theme for me is like, well, it's there, and this is something that's there, and it's definitely number 1060 on your list,
Right.
right? And it doesn't mean anything, but would peeve me off if I saw it. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
be playing with those people anyway, because I have a level 200 account. So
Right. I think that the two competing thought processes are, if I'm a League player coming to TFT, I want there to be some basis for me to go off of like, oh, well, I would never build a Guardian Angel on a Jinx, so I'm not going to do it, even though it might be good in
yeah,
TFT.
because to be completely honest with you, in set one, like building Shojins on people, because that was a strong item in set one,
Uh-huh.
was weird, right? Like putting a Shojins on a Lulu, that was weird, and I
Sure.
didn't do it because it just felt so weird coming
Oh,
from me.
gotcha. And I think the competing thought of that is people are coming in with no League whatsoever, and if there's any sort of assumption built into it, I want there to be fewer of those, because I think there's a lot of them already
Yeah,
in the
totally,
game.
totally,
So
totally see that.
I would definitely be interested to see what Riot thinks about that, or the TFT team thinks about that. But in terms of the actual patch itself, things that jumped out to me, one, my boy Vel'Koz getting a buff, in the most important place, I think, for him, which is his mana cost. Like, getting that first ult off is super, 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 super important. So that 10 extra mana buff, big thumbs up in my book. I love Vel'Koz. I'm hoping maybe we get a little more void action going.
I hope so.
I'd be happy with that.
It's like the one trait that I see like no one doing.
I mean, I was
Right.
doing it a lot beforehand because Mort told me that it was a broken comp on his stream, so I did it, and it was great. But yeah, I like Void because it's like a lot of people are min-maxing. It's like go Rebels or go all-in Sorks or go Infiltrator Assassin or go Infiltrator Mech Infiltrator. But it's like, there's a build that I've run to at least moderate success a few times. That's like some Sork, it's like Sork, Mech, Infiltrator, Void. And it's like the sort of the pantheon, not the pantheon, the crossroads of like 3 or 4 different comps all coming together, and Void sort of ties them together. And I think that's an interesting way to build it, right? I don't think you necessarily need to min max on everything. Like this is sort of the hedge between a lot of different things. So
Yep.
I like it where it's at. Actually, it's in a notably different place than it was when Void was in set one, which is really cool. And the other thing is just the elephant in the room. The tier 5 champions got the lop, which I think.
Except Lulu. Lulu only lost 0.05 attack speed.
Yeah,
but
I don't think Lulu was necessary. I think that was an adequate nerf for how powerful she was because she's still
because
super strong.
it was mostly on just like, are you going to polymorph the most important person? Right? And if you do, you win. If not, that's the risk of running Lulu. Hopefully you have another Mystic.
Yeah. And I think the defensive, even though like the polymorph really kind of works offensively because it's so good at defense, the defensive abilities are less enraging. It's like unless it like heals your whole team or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess GA can be enraging too, so I don't know.
Yeah, Gangplank spell damage going from 650, 850, 9001 to 450.
Yeah.
So a rank 2 Gangplank is doing less damage than a current level 1 Gangplank.
Yep.
And this is where like, yeah, we can get into hot fixing. If you're going to nerf it this much, why isn't it already in the game? Blah, blah, blah. Right? But at least we're seeing it because the cast time also got increased. You're doing so much less damage, and I still think it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Right?
Cast time is actually the same. It just is harder to get the second one, and it does less damage.
Yeah, and the big thing is it's AoE, right? When everyone is receiving this damage, that's why it's so good. That's why it's not as big of a problem for Misfortune. Right? Because she can get the upgrade, and she can turn. But it's not like I feel bad if I get effed by a Misfortunal because I feel like that's my fault in positioning. Right. I put everyone in the noob corner, right? As opposed to Gangplank where it's like, what am I doing?
How do I spread out against this entire board hitting alt?
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to games, fun and interactive, I think the Gangplank thing was just never interactive. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. And I'm glad to see such a heavy nerf. Which I still think it could go lower. Like I think level 1 should be at 400, not 450, right? And make him a unit that you kind of have to level 2 to really, and just have him be like a really strong level 2 unit.
Yeah,
I would be cool with that too. But obviously in their numbers, because I don't think you start with these numbers that they got to be completely honest with you. Right. These numbers look like they've been iterated upon. So it's good to see that he's getting that kind of nerf, but still 600 AoE damage to everybody at rank 2, still a lot of damage.
Still a lot of damage, and also is going to be stunning everyone with Demolitionist, likely. So I think is now in a good spot, right? It's not going to one-shot the entire team and kill everyone, which was the worst feeling. I experienced... They
couldn't even respond because they were stunned.
You can't do anything, and you can't even, with Guardian Angel, you couldn't even burst down the Gangplank to counter it, right? It was just, this ult is happening. I hope you have enough health to survive it. And it was just not something you could do anything about. So now it's going to do significantly less damage. It's going to still stun you for whatever amount of time, but it's still going to hurt, but it's not going to be like the round is over when Gangplank ults, and also you can't stop him from ulting because of Guardian Angel. And even if you you survived the first one, still not unreasonable to get the second one. Now it's pretty unreasonable to get the second one. And also Mana Reaver is now better, right? Because that 40% is even higher now. That 40% increase is even higher now. So now that's another way to potentially play around it. And Ezreal starts looking a little bit better against Gangplank now. So definitely...
Kassadin as well.
Yeah, Kassadin, exactly. So definitely added a little more counterplay to it, and it made it a little bit less impactful, which is nice. Aurelion Sol getting some slight nerfs. Not huge, I don't think, but again, the Gangplank and the Aurelion Sol, and I guess technically the Ziggs, and a couple of other things, keeps, I think, Rebels. I think it will still be viable for sure. Just run the same comp. It's just not auto number 1 and also auto number 2 because there's enough units to go around.
Exactly.
It's you can probably pretty reasonably get top 4, especially if you're the only one running it. And If two people are going it, it's like one person might get top 4 and the other one probably gets boned, which I think is a good place for a comp, honestly.
All right, let's
Yeah.
talk about some items real quick because it actually
Yes.
does go back to something we talked about with Zinzao. So
Yes.
items, Marilla, Nomicon, and Red Buff burn damage. I feel like these two items have been touched more than any other items, and it's always been like
Definitely
1 or
close.
2 percentages,
Yeah.
right? So like the burn is now 30 to 27%.
Mhm.
So the healers are going to feel a little bit better. So Soraka, all those heal based Zin are going to heal just 3% more. Static Shiv damage going from 75 to 80, and Warmog's health regen 4 to 5%. That's a good buff for some tanks.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous, and this is the reason why I wanted to read it, is this
Mhm.
this first one. So Echo, Aurelia, Lucian, Jin Zhao. I'm all self-conscious about it. And oh, look, and they put Echo twice. Oh, and Echo's attacks
Oh, okay.
performed as a part of their spell can now trigger the effects of Static Shiv, Ginsu's
Oh.
Rage Blade, and Runan's Hurricane. So
Oh,
that's a
wow.
small buff to all of them.
I
Bigger buff
mean,
to an Irelia and a Zinzao.
and
People who
Echo.
like and Echo and Lucian. So like
It's the buff to all of them.
but like the Shiv thing is going to be really nice, especially for Irelia if she gets her resets,
Mhm.
right? And now her resets are going to help her stack Rage Blade. Like I think, and
Yeah.
Zinzao with those 3 quick auto attacks are going
Ooh.
to be able to. That's the static Shiv proc,
Right.
right? So like, you're not really building Shiv on any of these characters, maybe other than Lucian, if it's just
And you
something you
used
have.
to on Lucian. I thought
Yeah.
that it used to work like that on old Lucian, but maybe it never did.
But now their like abilities will be part of the triggers for those items,
Mhm.
which adds a whole nother level, I think, for some of these characters. Particularly, I think this is a big buff to Irelia, since Blade
Mhm.
Masters also got buffed.
Yeah. Um
So champions now celebrate, and Grave Splash Art has changed. Oh, and
yeah.
then the other one I always love talking about, bug fixes. I think for me, the number one is Hannah Justice was scaling off of AP. The heal was
Oh.
and is no longer. So if you feel like Hannah Justice has been strong recently, that's why.
In Rebel Shield no longer scales with AP. Didn't know that was the case. So does that is that just like it? So wait, did the Rebel buff like proc off of itself? I don't know. I feel like that's probably a pretty big nerf then if that was just it wasn't supposed to do that. So now I mean it's like your Aurelian Soul is now a whole heck of a lot squishier than they were supposed to be, or than they were. They're squishier than they were and they were never supposed to be that. So kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
And then the other big one is Hextech Gunblade now correctly heals when dealing damage against shields.
Mm-hmm. Which is
So
great.
it just wasn't working against shields, so that makes that item a little bit better. Everyone is only building that item on ASOL anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I built it on Darius. That was fun.
That's awesome.
It's cool to see and I had a jeweled gauntlet and an IE on him, so it was cool to see like the crit just refill his health, but then he wouldn't need it, and I was like,
Right.
oh, this is why you don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
I got value off of one ultimate with that
right.
item, and then after that I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's just win more at that point.
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I like this patch.
Yeah.
Some quality of life mobile changes. You'll see them when you get there. This is all linked in the description. But I like the patch so far.
Put the store in mobile, please, because I want well, my girlfriend wants a little legend and she can't buy it, so just put it out there. You're leaving some little legend money on the table. But yeah, overall I think really good patch. I'm hoping, man, I'm wondering I just hope
The Rebels thing's really gotcha, huh?
the Rebels thing, it's not even Rebels, it's just that specific. It's Gangplank, right? It was the Gangplank comp that happened to run Rebels. I think Aurelian Soul is a cool unit and should have its place. I think Vertical Rebels should have its place, honestly. And I think it's still like, notably, guess who didn't get touched? Jinx didn't get touched, so Rebel Blasters still probably oh wait, you can't see it on the
Yeah, a lot of the blasters got better. Blasters, I think.
yeah, so I think Rebel Blasters is going to be in an interesting spot. I think
Chrono on that 6 Chrono might be a thing.
6 Chrono Sniper. I'm hoping that it seems like we obviously nerfed Rebel or the Rebel comp, the Gangplank Rebel comp. We nerfed the 5 cost units, so it's like Brawler Blaster is probably still going to be good. Cybernetics is still probably going to be good because you're not really necessarily relying on stacking the Echo. Also, Echo, like he did get slight nerfs, but he also got, I guess, buffs with his miscellaneous changes. But Aurelia get buffed and all this other stuff. So I think that we're going to see some.
Also a cybernetic.
Yeah, Lucian as well. So I'm hoping that like we're going to see some of those like B tier or tier 2 comps sort of rise up a little bit, and therefore like weigh out different things. And I'm hoping to see
that's what this patch is about, in my opinion. Like when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 classes and origins.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Get touched.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to do something. Like they're being very intentional about changing. And so let's see if that happens, because sometimes you do all this and nothing changes, right?
I doubt that's going to be the case.
I doubt that. I definitely doubt that.
Yeah.
With this one, I'm excited to play some Chronos.
Yeah,
and I think got buffed. Caitlyn got buffed.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it.
This is the first patch after the set was released, right? Like, I mean, we've had obviously PBE, but that doesn't count. So this is the big one, right? And we're going to probably see smaller adjustments, tweaks here, and then when new stuff comes out. Yeah.
What do you think of the new Darkstar? Do you think we're going to be seeing Darkstar come into play a little bit more often?
I mean, I'm going to be trying it. So
yeah, but what's your gut saying?
I think yes, because we already saw like 6 Darkstar was already like a fringe comp that could be stacked and run well, and Jhin technically got better. Shaco got a little bit of a nerf, but like snipers got better. Jhin, only 3-star Shaco. It's like all of a sudden, no, okay, that's more of a nerf to mech infiltrator than to Darkstar. So those Darkstar items may be looking a little bit better. Like it feels much more. It feels literally like Shadow plus Light from last set, kind of like it feels like the breeding of those two, which I guess Dark Star is probably what they're going for. I like it. I think the one thing, like my initial reaction was like, oh, just build it like Lights from last set, but actually you need to focus more on the life gain, because you're not gaining life back like you were with Lights. So you need to actually get like a Rage Blade or something on that Jhin or the Shaco. So I think it'll be another comp to throw in there that will potentially throw a wrench in things. And I want there to be more of those comps.
With those galaxies, as easy as possible, these comps will make one comp good on Nicoverse and crap on another. Right? And that's okay. Yep. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
I just know I can't wait to play it, because it's a lot of changes, basically like a whole another new set, which is awesome. But
yeah,
that is going to be it for this episode. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below and all of that good stuff. But Boop, in the meantime, where can people find you on the internet?
Twitter.com/BooposaurusRex and Twitch.tv/Booposaurus1. I'm going to be hitting up if I feel better, I'm going to be hitting up my stream tomorrow. Going to be trying to climb back up to, I think I've only played I haven't played like enough TFT because I've been like waiting for the stream, because I know I'm going to be playing so much. Right. Yeah. So I'm excited to climb from silver to gold to plat, and hopefully get past all of that. I've liked the set so far, and it's so funny. Set 2 made me play less. Like looking back, I played a lot less of set 2 than I did set 1, and I didn't recognize how much less I was playing until I started playing set 3 so much. Right. And I'm still trying to rack my head around why. Once I do, I'm sure that would be a really great piece of content. But I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play for hours a day. Going to be playing some Legends of Runeterra. I have a very special coach.
Ooh. Who could that be?
And hopefully get some casting in as well. Where can we find you on the internet, Blevins?
You know where you can find me? Discord.me/Little Legends Podcast, because I'm a degenerate and I'm on Discord at all times. If you want to follow Twitter at @_Blevins, though, I mean, just go to the Discord. That's where I'm going to be. But that is going to be it from us. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter at LIL Legends Pod. On Twitter, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all that stuff. If you haven't already, just hit like or subscribe or whatever on all those things. Definitely want to do that, and make sure you're in the Discord so you can play in game nights on Fridays. We play at 9 Eastern on Fridays, discord.me/podcast. But that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you, everyone. For Boop, I'm Blevins. We'll see you next week. We'll be talking about some more TFT.